To breed or not to breed? That is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to produce gliders. I don't know, that's all I got. This is going to be one of those videos that has bloopers at the end. Sure is. Hi everyone, it's Kimberly. This is Sugar Glider Diaries. Thanks for joining me for a conversation today about breeding and my thoughts on it and if I would ever do it or not. First of all, I will just say never. I consider myself to be a big planner. I'm a very type A personality, but I've also realized over the years that most of the things that I've ended up doing in the last 10 years, I never would have seen coming. As far as careers, as far as relationships that I have, friendships that I have, I've been very pleasantly surprised with a lot of things, including this YouTube channel. So for me to say I would never, ever breed sugar gliders, I think that would be closing a door that if the Lord wanted to open and he wanted to lead me that way, then I would be open to it. But I'm just going to share with you today the reasons why thus far in my life I have not done that, and I don't plan to anytime soon. One is that if you're going to breed, you need to have multiple cages for each pair of gliders. The way that my house is set up, my house could lend itself to having multiple cages. So I shouldn't say that it can't. But for what I want, I really want one really large cage for my colony that's only has 3. I could potentially add another 1 or 2 to that colony eventually. I have another cage that is kind of going to be the cage that they're currently using, but that will be getting replaced by the big cage. And that cage will be kind of my backup cage. It will be my cage for any new gliders that I have not been successfully introduced to the colony yet, or a hospital cage in case any of my gliders get injured, have mating wounds, have to be separated from the colony for whatever reason. So I have, in my house, I will have 2 cages, but if I was going to breed, I would probably want a couple different pairs at least, which means that I would need 3 cages at least, because I have my colony of 3 that are pet only, that I will not be mating, or would not be breeding, I should say. And I would then have to get 4 additional gliders and have those in separate cages. So that's reason number 1. Reason number is space. I guess the space accommodations for having multiple cages. Even if I wanted a really small breeding program, I would need to get multiple cages. And I really love the idea of having one huge cage for my gliders to enjoy and not a bunch of small cages. That's just my okay. So the cages that I currently have are over the minimum requirement for what people say is necessary for gliders. So if I wanted to go to the minimum requirement for what people say is okay as far as the size of the cage, I could have a lot of cages in my room that I have them in right now. I could probably fit 2, 3, 4. I could probably fit at least 6 cages in there, which means I could have 6 breeding pairs if I wanted to do that. I don't want to do that though. So anyway, that's reason number 1. So apparently, in explaining that, it's not really a reason because I still could do it. It's really more of a preference that I really want to have one nice large cage for my small colony. Okay, so reason number 2 is smell. So now I'm not saying that you can't maintain the smell with unneutered males. I think that there probably is a way that you can make the smell maintainable, but it's one deterring factor for me, that when you have a male that's not neutered, they develop their scent gland on the top, and they also mark a lot more often because they are not neutered, and that's just genetically wired in them that they want to do that. There's a smell component that I am not super stoked about trying to problem solve, I should say. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so 1 is space, 2 is smell, 3 is the risks involved in breeding. There's always going to be risks that something could happen to the baby, something could happen to the mom, that the baby could be cannibalized by the mom if there was something wrong with the baby, or if there was some sort of dynamic was not where it needed to be with between the mom and the dad. There's just lots of different factors. If you breed responsibly, I do believe that those risks are minimal or minimized anyway, but they're still there, and that would really be traumatizing for me. It's something that I could probably get over, but it is one factor to consider. So probably the last factor that I will talk about, the 4th factor, if you will, is that then I would have to find homes for these little babies that I would be breeding. That would be the point, right? If I started a breeding program, it would be then to sell the babies to other families. I know myself, and I think what would end up happening is I would turn around and want to keep all the babies. I would fall in love with the babies, and I would have a really, really hard time. Even if I found an amazing home for the glider, I would still miss them. I'm sure that I would love them and I would get attached to them, and then I would have to get rid of them. And the idea of that makes me really sad. The idea of blessing another family with a socialized, beautiful baby glider is really wonderful. But at this point, it does not outweigh the bad feelings that I get when I think about what it would feel like to have to sell a glider that I have fallen in love with. So those are the factors that at this point have made me decide that I don't want to breed. The other factor too is that I am not a single person. I am part of a couple, and I don't know that my husband, well, I don't know. I shouldn't even say that my husband wouldn't want to, because I've never asked him. I think it would have a lot to do with the smell. So basically, if I ever decided that I was even thinking about doing that, I would need to visit a home that does breed and see if the smell was manageable. If the smell's not manageable, that's a no-go for me. My house is not super big. It doesn't have multiple levels. So if the glider room stinks, my whole house would stink. So that would be a not great situation. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Somebody asked that, and I thought I would film this and answer. So I hope you guys understand that, and that was clear. Please stay tuned for all the bloopers from this, because this was a hot mess. Some videos are just a hot mess, and this is one of them. So enjoy that, and keep asking questions, keep leaving comments, and I would be happy to film the answers to those. Have a great day. Bye-bye. So that's hair. Why? Okay. The other factor is did not, oh gosh, why do I keep doing this? I keep doing this. Okay. What's the other factor? I'm probably gonna have to like refilm this whole thing, because every time I look at myself, why do I do this? Okay. Personal preference, and not necessarily something that like the smell, space, chin.